Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's the Political Brown Kid here. Hope everyone is having a great day. Hope you're feeling well. Today, I just wanted to kind of just pontificate on something real quick. Just a thought that popped into my head. It's in regards to, um, you know, there's a lot of talk and discussion. Matter of fact, I received a phone call. This is the reason why I'm kind of talking about the subject now and revisiting it. It's relatively old, but I received a phone call from an organization, and it was a female on the phone, um, and they were soliciting for donations for their cause, and they were just saying that their rights are being taken away from them. Women's rights are being taken away. So I was like, well, what kind of women's rights are being taken away? Because I'm curious to know this. And she was like, and I said, she was like, well, our reproductive rights. And I said, well, give me an example. I said, can you be a little bit more specific? And then she was like, well, sir, and it seemed like she got a little defensive. She was like, well, sir, if a 10-year-old woman or a 10-year-old girl gets, something happens to her that shouldn't happen to her at that age, she should have a right to not have to carry to term. And she should be able to make choices. So I started throwing out other alternatives because there are other states that will afford her those opportunities if in that scenario, should that scenario play out. And then, well, what if she doesn't have the money to get to those other places? And they're trying to stop that. And so I said, okay, all right, I hear you, I understand. But here's the point that I want to make. It's really more about there's a blurred line between a lot of these, laws. So sometimes, enacting certain laws, you can trigger other things to occur that law has a negative impact on. For example, you can look at the drug laws that happened in the 80s. You had a disproportionate number of blacks going to jail as opposed to whites because the laws were blurred. They treated one form of a drug differently than another form of a drug. And that they treated it differently because it was used predominantly by black people. So those black people, nonviolent offenders, got significantly more time than their white counterparts that were selling a powdered form of that drug. So in this same situation, I'm looking at it. And even let me, before I even get into that situation, it's even when you look at the laws in terms of sexual harassment. When you look at the harassment laws, particularly, and not even just harassment laws, but just when you file a claim of harassment, harassment is really chosen by attractability. If a person is attracted to another person, typically they're going to allow a lot more things to slide as opposed to if that person was not attracted to an individual. There's going to be far less tolerance for a particular behavior. So in the situation where we're dealing with pregnancy and, people having the right to choose. So let's just throw out this one example. If a person has the right to choose to carry to term, if they're saying it's my body, my choice. And so if you're saying that, okay, I have the right to terminate a pregnancy, as long as it's, I think, within the first trimester or within the first, I think, 2 months, whatever it is. But they're trying to say I have the right to terminate that pregnancy. Basically, what you're kind of essentially saying, it kind of goes back to an argument of, is this a life at this point in time? Because if it is a life at this point in time, then then I could see the Republicans having an argument for no abortions. But if you're saying that, no, this is not a life technically at this point in time, and and it is my choice to terminate this pregnancy, well, let's look at this situation. Well, what if this person or another person finds out that they're pregnant? They get into an altercation, whether it be with a man or a woman, they get into an altercation with another person, a physical altercation. That physical altercation causes that person to terminate their pregnancy. Because in those circumstances, under today's laws, that other individual who caused that person harm would actually go to jail for murder and or manslaughter because they ended a life. But if we're trying to say that that is not technically a life yet, because women have the freedom to choose whether they can terminate or not within a certain period of time, well, what if someone terminates your pregnancy for you due to a fight within that period of time? Then it's technically not manslaughter or murder of a fetus, of a life, because now we're getting into the realm of, is this a life or is this not a life? So you can't just have the laws work one way. You can't just have the laws be advantageous to you always. Just like in the situation too, if you're saying it's my body, my choice, and I have the choice to, carry this pregnancy, see this pregnancy throughout, then what if the man wants to say, well, it's my choice too. I don't want to, we didn't plan this child. Things happen, whatever may happen, whether it's irresponsibility on their parts or whether it was just an accident, whether they took precautions and things still occurred. But what if he says it's my choice not to want to provide any obligations, whether it be financial obligations, whether it be, participating in the raising of this child? I choose not to do so. So then therefore, should he not have the right to be exempt from, any type of judgments against him in a federal court or in a municipal court that says that he doesn't have to pay anything? So you do have those two scenarios on that other flip side, but you can't just have the law work for you in all cases. The law has to work equally for everyone. So that's one of the reasons why, when you look at certain particular laws, you have to kind of think them through. And so I'm just putting that out there so that, that's something for people to think about. If you have comments on it, please leave some comments in the comments section. Definitely hit the like and subscribe button. Once again, this is the Political Brown Kid. I'm out of here.